Orange chicken is already pretty much close to perfect, so naturally, I decided to make it French. We are taking chicken thighs and rendering them in their own rendered fat, building the orange sauce like a French gastrique, and finishing with cold butter instead of cornstarch. It's still orange chicken, just aggressively French. And we're going to start with 4 chicken legs. That's enough for about 3 to 4 portions, and our first order of business is removing the bones. To do that, I first flip the leg over and make a single cut all the way along the thigh bone, across the joint and down to the end of the drumstick. I place a few shallow cuts along the sides of the drumstick bone to open everything up. Next, I carefully press my knife underneath the bone and saw outward all the way through. Be careful here. Chicken drumsticks have this nasty little sharp bone running along the larger one. I make sure to shave the meat away from that bone and leave it behind. Once I've reached the joint from the drumstick side, I repeat the maneuver on the thigh side. Knife underneath the bone, saw outward, and shave the meat away all the way to the joint. Once I reach it, I make a few small, shallow slashes around the joint until the meat releases from the bones. Don't worry about mangling the meat a little, it's going to be cut into smaller pieces anyway. I repeat the process with the remaining chicken legs. The leftover bones go into a Ziploc bag in the freezer, and once I have enough of them, I like to make stock. The reason I don't just hack the meat off the legs was because I wanted to keep the skin mostly intact. So now I grab the meat with my hands and simply pull it away from the skin. This should be fairly easy. And voila! I now have an intact sheet of chicken skin ready to be rendered. The only thing I have to do is remove any blubbery bits of fat still clinging to the skin. Those don't render particularly well, and they definitely don't go crispy. Now I grab my stainless steel pan and lay the skin flat over fairly low heat. I repeat that with the remaining pieces of skin and lay them in alongside the first one. The meat I'm now going to cut into bite-sized pieces. Cut them a smidge larger than you ultimately want them because they'll shrink a little during cooking. Into a bowl they go and off to the side for a minute. Rendering the chicken skin can take up to 10 minutes, which gives me plenty of time to prep our side. Haricots verts amandine. A fancy sounding but very simple French green bean dish, for which we're going to need a pot of boiling water. Next, I've got about 400 grams of green beans, and we need to take the ends off. I do that by grabbing a handful, laying them flat in a single row against the side of my knife, and simply shaving off the ends. Rotate the bunch, square them up, and repeat the other side. God, I love green beans. Drop those into the boiling water for about a minute. After that, I move them straight into a large bowl of cold water. This stops the cooking and helps preserve that bright green color. Those can sit off to the side until we need them later. By now, the chicken skin has started to develop some color and has rendered out about as much fat as it's willing to give us. So it's time to get the chicken ready. I hit it with a generous pinch of salt and some freshly ground black pepper. I also add in a handful of flour, which will not only help with browning, but also help the sauce cling to the chicken later. And because I'm sick and tired of washing my hands every 30 seconds, I'm tossing this together with my tongs. Make sure every piece is coated. Important note, you want the chicken dusted, not breaded. Less is more when it comes to flour here. By now, the skins have turned a beautiful mahogany color and are completely rigid when I lift them out of the pan. And more importantly, they've left behind all this beautiful chicken fat, which we're going to use to brown our chicken. I suggest bringing the heat up to medium and laying the pieces in one by one, making sure they don't overlap so we get maximum contact with the pan. After about 3 minutes on the first side, they should be nicely golden. That's plenty of browning flavor-wise. Now we just need to cook them through, so I give the pan a shake and let the pieces fall onto an uncooked side. I can also tell that they've absorbed most of the chicken fat from the pan, so I add an extra glug of olive oil just to keep everything frying nicely. Make sure to scrape up some of the fond as you go. If there's too much sticking to the bottom, it might burn. After around 6 to 7 minutes total, the chicken should be golden all around. I remove it to a bowl. And now the highlight of this dish, the sauce. For that, we'll need a couple of things, starting with 5 or 6 sprigs of thyme and 2 oranges. I'm going to zest one of the oranges with a microplane, but you could use a cheese grater or even a knife if that's all you've got. Next, into the pan with all the fond, I sprinkle in about 2 to 3 tablespoons of white sugar and let it caramelize. My heat is still moderate because I really don't want to burn the fond. The instant the sugar starts turning mahogany brown and I can smell those caramel notes, I deglaze with the juice of both oranges. Now that we've got liquid in the pan, it's easy to scrape up all the flavorful fond from the bottom. Next, I add about 100 ml of white wine vinegar for acidity, followed by the thyme and orange zest to infuse and get to know each other. To extract even more flavor from the thyme and orange zest, I also recommend adding a splash of whatever spirit you've got lying around. I use gin and flambéed it because, fancy. Next, I add about 2 cloves worth of frozen garlic, although fresh garlic would work just as well. And to finish the base of the sauce, I add around 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, which also has the added benefit of seasoning everything at the same time. After reducing over high heat for about 3 minutes, I kill the heat and do the streak test. That's when I know it's time to monter au beurre, which is simply the fancy French way of saying stir cold butter into the sauce until it becomes glossy, rich, and reaches the consistency you want. My heat is off because I don't want to break the butter's natural emulsion. The chicken goes back into the pan and gets tossed with our luscious, rich, thyme-infused French orange glaze. Cover it with a lid so that it doesn't go cold, and onto the literal back burner it goes on the keep warm setting while we finish our sides. Into another pan over medium-high heat, I melt a generous knob of butter until it just starts to go brown. Then I add the strained green beans from earlier and saute them in the butter. Whoops! Looks like one of those got away. Not so fast, little fella. I season generously with salt and pepper and add another 2 to 3 cloves worth of frozen garlic to thaw and brown alongside the beans. This is also when I start adding handfuls of slivered almonds. Add some, mix, assess. Do you want more? Then add more. To finish, I kill the heat and add another 2 tiny slivers of butter just to melt gently over everything and give a final milky richness. This is French cooking, people. If you're afraid of butter, you're in the wrong place. Alright, the moment you've all been waiting for. My terrible plating. I had some white rice cooking in the background, so I used the classic bowl shape method to make a neat little mound on the plate. Next, I pile on some green beans and make sure they're all facing roughly the same direction for aesthetics, I guess. Then come the glazed chicken pieces, topped with a few more almond slivers. I added half the slice of orange so that it looks at least vaguely like it's supposed to be an orange flavored dish. And I genuinely couldn't find a better place for the crispy chicken skin, so I just stuck it in the rice. And, ta-da! A French-inspired version of orange chicken that doesn't lose its original Chinese-American identity, but still tastes more elevated and a little less like fast food. If there's another fast food classic you'd like to see made the French way, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like. I'll see you in the next one. À la tienne, Etienne.